Oh, my hair looks atrocious. Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another month of Science Saturday. Thank you all so much for coming. Today, we are talking all about sand. Now, sand is one of our favorites in the Virgin Islands, right? Because we go to the beach, we relax, we go swimming, we go snorkeling, and there's a lot of beauty and I think like relaxation to being in the sand. Hey, morning, Martin. Thanks for joining us. So sand, I think, is something that we take for granted. And so today, this month, I wanted to really dive deep. I've been saying that a lot. I must want to go diving. We're going to dive deep into what is sand, why is sand important, how is sand made, and then we're going to end up today with a special guest appearance by a loud, amazing crushing machine, which I believe is a scientific term. So I am joined today. We are down here at the UVI CMES Center for Marine and Environmental Sciences with one of our favorite scientists, Howard. Ayo.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
So, Howard.
Yes.
What do we got going on?
So we have a wonderful display of some cool stuff today. So we have some sand that was shipped over from Puerto Rico. So we have sand from 4 different beaches in Puerto Rico. And this particular sand is from a volcanic beach, or a beach that has a volcano, some type of volcano action nearby. So that's why the sand is very black. We also have sand, like I said, from other beaches. As you can see, there's different sizes of the sand, different compositions. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But then we also have some of the glass sand that we created from crushing glass. And so we'll have some of that on display to showcase as well.
Awesome. So before we get into the science experimentation part, I want to talk a little bit about, I'm going to aim my camera, sorry. So by the way, I made myself a new microphone stick today, and I hope that everybody's really impressed because I'm super proud of it. So let's talk a little bit about what is sand? Like, what is the first sentence that comes to your mind if somebody said, what is sand?
Oh, is that a question for me to answer?
Yeah.
Okay. So normally when I think of sand, I think of parrotfish poop. And so that's where most of our white sandy beaches, where they get their sand from. So our wonderful parrotfish, they will nibble on little coral fragments. They're trying to eat the algae that's growing on the coral. And in doing so, they're taking off little chunks. And so they poop out what's left behind, which is the calcium carbonate, and that's what produces our sand.
Ooh, interesting.
Sand can also be produced from other types of processes, also known as weathering of rocks. So I'm going to steep down really quick right here. So we have all of these beautiful rocks. So as these rocks eventually wash their way into the ocean, all of that wave action slowly, just a very slow process, this will eventually break down over time into smaller little fragments, and that's part of where sand also comes from. Cool.
Now, before we move on, I want to rewind a little bit, and we do have our favorite intern here, Mason. Come on, Mason. Now, you said the first thing you think about with sand is parrotfish poop. How do you feel, Mason, about the fact that sand is made up substantially of poop?
Well, I think it's interesting.
Do you think that
it doesn't really gross me out because I know it's a natural process and it won't hurt you?
Nice.
And it doesn't smell bad or anything like that. I think it's fine. I don't really care.
Awesome.
I think it's great.
So, a very mature and wonderful answer from Science Saturday intern Mason. So where else do you think sand comes from? Where are you going? Come back here.
You're not done yet.
Where else do you think sand comes from?
Shells. And sea urchin.
Ooh.
That break up over time. And
what didn't Howard just have an example?
Yeah. And like gravel.
So rocks and weathering.
And also volcanic rock
Uh-huh.
breaks down over time, and it turns into the little, volcanic sand.
Cool. Perfect. So, now, Howard, we can go back to our examples.
Sure. So we can start with this sand. This is from Playita Rosada. So this is a beach in Puerto Rico. So I'm gonna see if I can get this close up. Oh, actually I should get
Really
There we go.
close. Oh, man.
So we have these macro lenses that allow you to see everything up close.
There's a little bit of a reflection. Okay, there we go. Oh, man.
Okay, so you can see all the
There
different
we go.
sizes of sand particles that are in there. You can see there's maybe some rocks, there's a little bit of maybe some shells. Sometimes you may even come across sea urchin spines that are still in there. And so this is part of, where our sand comes
Yeah.
from. And you see there's different sizes. Some of it's really fine, some of it's really, chunky and coarse. So that's kind of what makes up our sandy beaches.
Yeah, and we have a comment from the crowd. Our favorite scientist, Joe, who is supposed to have a day off, but is still hanging out with us, pointed out seashells, yes, and corals aren't the only calcium carbonate in the ocean. So absolutely, anything that is chewed up, ground up, pooped out, that could all be turning into sand. Oh, that's really pretty. This is a different color.
Yep, so you can see this has a more tan color to it. You can definitely see that there's a shell right there. Let me see if we can move it around a little bit. There's definitely a shell right
yeah,
there.
I see the shell.
Yep, and lots of
This is very
smaller.
high-tech stuff, guys. Pointing my phone. I promise we're getting funding for fancier stuff. We're gonna really grow this year. But for now, we trust the phone.
Now let's take a look at the volcanic sand. So obviously the first thing that's very different is the color. So
Right.
this sand is a more darker color. And again, that's because of the volcanic ash or volcanic rock that's been broken down over time. Don't
Very
really see this too
cool.
often on many beaches. But there are beaches in the Caribbean that definitely have black sand.
Right.
All right, now to the fun stuff.
More fun. What?
So this is sand that was created by crushing only clear glass bottles.
Oh, so now this is interesting because we haven't even gotten into talking about how glass is made from sand, right?
That is correct.
So let's get natural resource minded for a second. Since we are hosted by the Department of Planning and Natural Resources.
I fear that you're going to ask me a very tough question and I'm not going to know the answer.
We're gonna work through it together. It's all right. So I think that we can just have a little journey of thought. So sand is used for a lot of stuff, right?
That is correct.
We have just established that sand is used to make glass. And so there's a lot of glass stuff around us. The bottles, we've got the bottles that are being brought in to be crushed. But just looking at the world around us, our cars have glass windows. And so all of that is made from sand. And then also sand is used in construction. So to make concrete. What else is
If
made
you
out of
ever
sand?
walked in a parking lot, the asphalt could also have sand in it. If you
Ooh.
see the little shiny, if you ever walk on the road or the pavement and you see that it's sparkling, that's because
Oh.
there's pieces of glass in there.
Sparkling.
Yep, so that's where
Fun.
that comes from. The reflective shiny paints that our Department of Public Works uses to make our roadways lit up, that go in the dark or light up paint, that also has sand in it as well.
The refraction.
There's
yeah.
so many ways in which sand can be used besides it just being, nice to look at or
Right.
sit on our beaches.
So now our next step in this is if we are using sand for all of these things, then we're possibly running out of sand,
We could be.
right?
Yep.
So I actually heard, and I apologize, I cannot cite this reference because I was listening to the radio in the car over a year ago. But NPR was talking about how construction in developed countries has skyrocketed with skyscrapers. Sorry, guys. wait for that plane. Oh, I have my stick mic so I can keep talking. So with all of this construction worldwide, there is a shortage of sand. And also with the construction of resorts and places that want sand, they are taking sand from other beaches and creating new beaches. So this all means we need to save our sand.
Yep.
So now we're going to talk about crushed. Oh.
I also wanted to point out another way in which we can lose sand is through hurricanes and erosion.
Yeah.
So it might be a little harder to see, but right down that way is Burrs Bay Beach. After Hurricanes Irma and Maria, they took so much sand, and not people, the hurricane, all the storm surge, as that water washes up on shoreline, it takes back with it all that sand. So we lost a good chunk of sand on our beaches after hurricanes. And we're right about to get into hurricane season pretty soon, so again, another reason why it's important to not take as much sand off of our beaches.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that this moves us nicely into the crushed.
Ta-da!
Oh,
Oh,
I'll get the
sure.
microphone closer to you. I apologize.
This should be much better.
Yes.
So right now in front of us we have the crushed glass. So this is the tiny fragments. We call them cullets, C-U-L-E-T-S. And so these are smaller fragments. They're not quite the fine sand grain size that we're commonly used to, but these are very beautiful, very pretty to look at. This actually has its own functionality, its own purpose. So we can put these in sandbags, but we can also use these for glass mulch. So you can put this in your gardens. You can use this in terrazzo countertops. Oh, absolutely.
Ooh,
You might see some pieces of paper in there, but paper is organic, or yeah, it'll decompose on its own. And so this, you can imagine, it's very beautiful, it's very pretty. You could put this in your aquarium and it would have a nice reflective surface or a very pretty surface. I mean, there's so many things you can do with this.
Very cool. Mason, do you want to come touch the what were these, cullets?
Cullets, yeah.
Cullets.
And that's another thing to point out. This is safe to handle. So you can touch it with your bare hands. You do not need protective equipment. When we are crushing, though, we do wear equipment. We have on the earmuffs. We have on the respirators. Because the fine sand particles, while it's recommended that it's safe for handling, we don't want to be breathing it in. So we do wear our PPE when we're crushing the glass.
Because it's always important to be safe first.
Yes.
Very cool. And so I know that we're kind of jumping the gun because we're going to talk about this glass, but where did this glass come from? What is this?
So as you can see, it's a combination of both green and amber colored glass. So this is all alcoholic beverages or non-alcoholic beverages that we crushed. And it takes about 60 glass bottles to make one 30-pound sandbag.
Whoa.
So if our goal is to make 500 sandbags, someone in the chat could maybe do the math. 60 times 500, that's a lot of glass bottles that we're going to need to make enough sandbags to at least start distributing them to the community.
Right, yeah. Very cool. Let's see if I can get that. Whoa.
Oh, we could take it off again.
Yeah, very cool. So what's next?
We could do a demonstration of the crusher.
Oh, yeah. You guys ready for some crushing? 30,000, Joe says. 30,000 bottles to make 500 sandbags.
Yes.
Now, why are sandbags important?
So we need sandbags because we do live in an area that is prone to natural disasters like hurricanes or tropical storms, and flooding and storm surge. Those are all negative impacts as a result of storms. And so we want to make sure that we're able to create something that isn't just going to end up back in the garbage.
Right.
With the sandbags, we know people are going to actually use them. They could actually help save your home from damage that could occur as a result of storm surge or flooding. So yeah, that's why we're making sandbags.
Cool. So I think for those, I mean, I know that this project is really popular, but just before we move over to the crusher, why don't you give us a quick introduction to...
Sorry, you had a bee. flying on your arm.
Cool. I am chosen. So let's do a quick introduction to the glass crushing program.
Sure. So basically, thanks to funding support that we got from the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands and the Ocean Conservancy, we were able to purchase 7. They're called GL sand crushers. These are from Explico Unlimited. They're based in New Zealand. So these came all the way from across the world. And so these 7 machines, 5 are currently on St. Thomas, and we have 2 that are in transit from New Zealand coming to St. Thomas, and then we'll ship them over to St. Croix. So we're trying to get them equally spaced out over the islands. And basically these machines, they're not industrial scale, so they're not meant to handle the large volume of waste that the entire territory produces. But with the machines we have set up, we can crush glass bottles. There is a specific size and type of bottle that can and cannot be crushed, but basically we crush the glass bottles. It takes about 3 seconds to crush each bottle, assuming that it doesn't jam the machine, because jamming the machine is not fun. But yeah, once we crush them, we bag the sand and we make our sandbags.
Very cool. And so by using this glass that has been reclaimed from the community, we are not taking sand off the beaches. So that's a great win for, you know, our preservation of the natural resources. Also, you guys know my favorite phrase, refuse, reduce, reuse. This really goes into keeping glass out of the landfills and protecting our waste stream here in the Virgin Islands, because this is, you know, glass is not in and of itself is not bad for the environment. However, because we're taking a finite natural resource, we want to make sure that we keep on protecting it.
I did want to add, so there was an article that came out, I believe, in The Source, and I think towards the end I was quoted in saying that every time I'm driving along the road, I look for glass. I see that not as a piece of trash, I see that as money. People are literally throwing money away. And so it's frustrating when I see all these glass bottles, you know, and especially when they're broken, because we can't crush broken glass. So yeah, you know, trying to educate the community that this is money that you're throwing away. We can actually take it, turn it into a product that can be used. It's not going to end up in the landfill, and we can go on and on about the landfill and all the issues there, but hopefully this project will help to divert some of that waste away from the landfill.
Yep. Amber says you need more help. This is a huge time-consuming endeavor. Yeah.
By the way, I actually have a 9-to-5 job. This is not my main job. I actually do other things that revolve around education and outreach. So I'm happy to do this, but this is all volunteer mostly.
All right. So what we're saying is we need volunteers. All right. So I'm going to flip the camera around to me. Oh, okay.
And in the background, I will secretly get ready so we can start crushing.
All right, so now we are about to get a real treat. We're going to have a demonstration of the glass crusher. So before we go over there, I'm going to go to intern Mason. What do you think about everything we've learned today? What do you think is the most surprising thing?
I think the most surprising thing is that you can crush bottles and turn it into, I don't know, I'm excited. I don't know. I was wondering why when you crush bottles, the sand isn't sharp. I'm wondering why it's not sharp.
That's really interesting. So when we are over at the glass crusher, we're going to find that out. Why isn't it sharp? Probably really smart engineers who have made this machine. So do you think, I forgot what I was going to ask you. Creeps. So we are about to go over and watch the glass crushing, and we actually brought some glass bottles today. A few. I will be contributing, I think, probably cucumber soda and sorrel juice, because those are my favorites. And we're gonna walk over, and because I forgot what I was saying. So we're going to walk over and get a nice view of the crusher, but on our way we can look at the glass that's been separated, and it is separated by color, and this is so that they can use it for different purposes. So we've got, it's pretty clear what the clear, it's pretty clear what the clear glass comes from. Sorry guys. Ooh, and we have a volunteer for when it comes to St. Croix. Thank you, Norman Edwards. My last name is Edwards too. I doubt we're related. So, Howard, are we ready? Almost ready. So, I'm going to give you guys a quick little close-up of the sandbags that the team is making. So, as they crush the glass and it gets sifted into different sizes, the sandbags are filled. And this is great because this helps us in the storms and, you know, protects our property and is not taking from our beaches. Oh man, this is getting really fancy. Howard has a scale and all kinds of stuff. We're gonna do some real sciencing today. Whoops, sorry, trying to flip the screen. All right, I'm gonna step into the shade so we don't have a phone meltdown. While we are waiting for the final stuff to be ready, I just want to thank everybody again for being such great supporters of Science Saturday. I do want to give a quick shout out, I know Howard already did, but to the Community Foundation of the Virgin Islands. They are supporting so many of our projects. They are supporters of the glass crushing project. They are also newly supporters of Science Saturday. And within the next few months, we're going to be getting more science experiment supplies and the capability to do a lot of really fun stuff. Ooh, Amber wants to know, can we volunteer our time to earn sandbags? Oh, cool. Zola said she's responding on there with information. Are we ready, Howard?
I can't hear anything.
We're watching you.
Perfect.
All right, Howard can't hear anything that I'm saying. So we have a glass, making sure that it is empty, and that is a paper, so that is okay. There's no metal on it. Woo! So, honestly, not as loud as I expected. Now, with the microphone set up today, we are getting all of the noise, but I gotta say, this is pretty cool. So, all of these bottles have been dropped off by the community, and as Howard said, you know, they're looking for volunteers to be able to do this more frequently and get through more of the bottles, but still a really cool program. Ooh.
Oh boy. It's so hot.
Alright.
Alright, so I'm gonna need to take this off. I'm like full of gear.
Yep. So as you can see, safety is a priority. Howard is fully protected with multiple types of protective equipment and his face mask. So, you know, we're not messing around.
No, we're not, no. Alright, so I'm gonna take the bucket off.
Ooh. Oh,
see there's
so cool.
I don't know if you guys can see that.
I don't know
want
if
to take it a little bit
coming
further
through
up.
on the screen, guys, but there's like a cloud of dust coming up off of it. Pretty cool.
Is it safe to touch?
That is safe to touch.
Yeah, do it.
But before you do that, you should wear one of these.
Okay.
And that's because of all the finer particulates that are, it's windy, so we don't want you to breathe in any of that. What is today's date?
Today is April 10th.
April 10th.
The second Saturday of the month. Science Saturday.
So I want everybody to see this. So we do actually collect data. Data is very important. So we want to know how many glass bottles we crushed. I was the one that recorded today. We crushed 15 bottles those were all green. And then we're going to get the weight of what we crushed.
Okay.
Normally we get the weight before we crush.
Oh man, so cool looking smush.
Let me help smush a little bit there.
Alright, so here we've got a close-up of the freshly crushed bottles. And you can see that the paper has been shredded and different size of glass, the cullets as well as the sand are all mixed together right now.
Underneath, so put this
super
one
interesting.
underneath. You might have to take your hat off.
I'm seeing that we're getting more interest in volunteering. That is awesome. Anybody who comments right now during live or watching later, we will respond to everybody and we'll make sure that you're talking to the right people. Okay, very cool. So earlier when we were looking at the close-up of the sand from the different beaches, we could see, you know, the different calcium and seashells and all that stuff. And so this is just glass. However, there is a little bit of paper from the labels, and that was paper, not plastic. So,
yep.
All right.
You can take, so what you can do is you can put all of the, well, once we separate the sand from the cullets, you can put all the cullets with the paper in a Tupperware bin with water. And because of science, the paper will float. And so you can just scoop away all the paper if you don't want it in your cullets.
Okay, so back to the science.
Yes, so we are going to get the weight of everything we crushed. So Mason, I'm going to lift the bucket up. If you would do the honors to tell us how much it weighs.
Looks like,
Pounds should be fine.
yeah, looks like around 6. I'm not sure. Wait.
Looks like it's going up. There's pounds on the outside. So 8 pounds.
All right, so we crushed 15 glass bottles that weighs 7 to 8 pounds. All right, that's not enough to make a sandbag.
Not enough for a sandbag, yeah.
Nope. But you can see we have lots of glass. Glass just keeps on coming. There's no shortage of glass, but definitely once we're able to get more volunteers and we can get more people helping with this process, yeah, we will be able to crush more glass.
All right, super cool. So we are just about coming up on time. Before we leave, first of all, somebody should get a screenshot of Howard in this getup because this is totally profile picture worthy.
And I got sweat in my eyes.
Oh no! All right, so let's turn around and focus on Mason and your getup, also profile photo worthy. So the moral and our scientific take-home lesson today has been that sand is not just beautiful, but so important to the environment, and we need to keep on working. Back on us. Hey, Howard. So we're going to keep on working to protect our natural resources and learning about awesome projects like this. So I hope that everybody had a wonderful time watching with us today, and I encourage you, next time you're at the beach, this is actually one of my favorite pastimes, is to pick up a small handful of sand and sift through it in the palm of your hand and try to guess where everything came from. You can definitely point out different shells and coral pieces, and it's really, really fun. So I want to thank everybody again for coming and watching Science Saturday. Everyone who is watching this after today, thank you so much. We are so appreciative of all of the support for the program. Howard, thanks as always.
Thank you.
our favorite Science Saturday intern, Mason, and behind the scenes, Zola, woo, answering our Facebook comments. Everyone have a wonderful day, and we will see you next month.